have a look at... Hey guys, today we're going to be creating my version of the Carnivore Lasagna. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about that, stick around to the end. Now, first thing we're going to be needing to do is creating the lasagna sheets. Now what we're going to be needing is a pan that you can have, that you can put a parchment paper, or baking paper is what we call it in Australia. Now what I've also done was I've used my favourite beef, there it is. I've used my favourite meat lard, which is called Wick, W-I-K, and that's what I can get from Coles in Australia. I'm also going to be using a tablespoon of gelatin. What I'm going to be doing with that is I'm going to fill it up with water. Where is it? There it is. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fill this up with water, and we're only going to be using half of this for this particular mixture because we want to be able to go over a couple of sheets. So I'm just going to open this up and we're going to pour enough to be able to cover the base of this pan, and it's egg white. What I'm doing is using egg white, and all I'm going to do is put that, before I do, I'm going to actually put that into a steel bowl so that I can mix the gelatin into the egg white. Now just give me a minute while I go and add some water to this. By the way, I'm not a chef, so I didn't know how much quantity I needed for this, so I just eyeballed it thinking it was going to be enough in that little container. Unfortunately it wasn't. So that became very gelatinous very quickly. Put it where I can actually see it. That became very gelatinous very quickly, so I'm not even going to use half of this. I'm probably only going to use a very small amount, so I don't really need to use too much of that. That's probably going to be all I need, which is about half anyway. Now all I need to do now is whisk that up. Make sure that it goes all the way through the entire egg mixture. Then once I've done that, I'm just going to pour this straight into this container here. I also have to make sure that my oven is preheated to, in Australian Celsius, it is preheated to 175 degrees Celsius. So I'm just going to pour that into here so that it creates a thin layer. If I need to add a bit more egg, I can. It won't matter. Can always whisk it over a little bit. Now I'm just going to smooth that out a little bit, and that should be ample for my needs. Yeah, that'll be more than enough. And the reason I grease it is because my previous experience with the one I had made previously was that it actually stuck to the sheet very badly. So I'm just making sure that it covers the entire area that I want to be able to make. So I'm going to be literally using plain egg white for the lasagna sheet. Now you have to understand that egg whites don't actually have a flavour too much. They're pretty much flavourless, or very mild flavour at least anyway, and that is perfect for a lasagna sheet. So I'm just going to quickly pop this over into the oven, and then we will leave it on for about between 5 to 8 minutes. Now it might take a little bit longer because I hadn't preheated the oven. We'll be back once it's finished. Well, I did say I'm not a professional chef, and I just had a slight mishap off screen, which means that it's going to take a little bit longer to cook this, because when I took it out to get it ready, I checked the edge. I realized that it had actually leaked over underneath it, and I now had to add a bit more, plus it also flipped over onto itself. I couldn't get it back. So now we just have to wait a little bit longer, and hopefully it'll still look and work okay. We'll just have some slightly thicker areas on the sheet, which is okay, I guess. I'll do a couple of batches of these, and then we'll get on to creating the white sauce. Just to say, I did actually make some egg white sheets up yesterday, and I didn't have enough for this batch, so I made sure I had some for today so I could actually show you how to make it. So I didn't do them all up last night because I wanted to show you how to do it today. So I made that up last night using real egg whites. I mean, the ones that you can actually crack the eggs and so forth. So I used actual egg whites for that with a bit of jelly, and then I made those sheets up. Now, in just a minute, I'm going to take this out of the oven, give it a chance to cool down, and then we're going to go ahead and cut it up into its sheets and then peel it off. I'll be right back. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be cutting along here in about the shape of actual lasagna sheets. And this is the reason why you really need to grease it up, because if you don't grease it up, what's going to happen is it is going to be an absolute pain to take off the paper. And if you don't, I found it out the hard way yesterday when I first made that first batch up. First batch I made up, I didn't actually add any kind of grease to it, to this paper, and unfortunately it got wrecked. There we go. As you can see, it's coming up pretty easily. I'll just cut this one as well. So I might just cut this one straight in half down here and make that about the size of a lasagna sheet. There we have it. Now, as you can see, a little bit did leak in, but that is okay. So what I'm going to do is I'll cut this one in half as well. That will do. Now, of course, I want to be able to have these go onto this over here with the rest of these sheets. And we're just going to put them straight on top of there. As you saw, that just slid right off. Hopefully that will do the same for this one as well. And it'll slide right off. I might even just use the spatula for that. There we go. I might bring this over so you can see how it slides off. This is why it's so important to make sure you grease it up, because if you don't, it's very hard to do this. See how it just slid straight off like that? Beautiful. That's exactly what you want to see. Now this one, okay, it's okay to hold that now, so, whoops. Oh, there we are. And this one should just slide straight off as well, hopefully. As long as it all plays the game for me, I'll be happy. There we are. Beautiful. And that goes for this one too. Okay, so all you have to do is rinse and repeat for as many sheets as you need for your lasagna. What you need to do is just, as I said, just rinse and repeat, making sure that you grease up the paper before you move on to the next section. Now the next section we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating the white sauce. Now while we're waiting for the next lot of sheets to finish, what we need to do is have a look at how to make the cream cheese sauce. So what we're going to be doing is I've got some cream cheese in here, and I'm also going to be pouring quite a bit of cream over the top of this till it pretty much covers it. There we are. That'll do. And what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be using Parmesan cheese, or as you guys in America call it, Parmesan cheese. And then I'm going to get this and put that into it as we go. Now I'm just going to turn the heat on, and I'm going to turn this right down to probably about 80 according to this particular stovetop. Then we'll let it just, I'll use my whisk and let it just whisk through, and hopefully it will begin to melt. So I'll just pause the video until it has finished melting. I will say that if you happen to be really stringent about this and you don't want any fillers in it, then really you might have to shop around for that, because it might be a bit awkward to be able to find a cream cheese that doesn't have some kind of filler in it. So just be aware of that. If you're really strict on your diet and you don't want to be having fillers, then I would strongly suggest that you then find one that doesn't have any fillers. Now if you want to, you can salt it to taste, and I am going to salt this, but just be aware that a lot of cheeses actually have quite a lot of salt already in them. But if being on the carnivore diet, you do need some extra salt. So I'm going to be putting quite a bit of salt in this, and that's starting to look really good. Now in just a moment I'm going to turn this up to keep that about there at about 80, and then I'm going to grab some Parmesan cheese, and I'm just going to basically eyeball it until I'm happy with it. So I'll just grab a handful at a time and put that straight in. And let that melt in. I would use cheddar cheese, but finding grated cheddar cheese in Australia is really hard. Normally you're way better off just grabbing Parmesan cheese anyway if you want the Italian taste, or Parmesan, or however you call it in America. And this should thicken up very nicely. As it continues to melt through, this will begin to get thicker and thicker. I could even turn that up a little bit more to maybe 120. On this, it's really good. It's starting to look really good. In just a minute I'm probably going to take this off the heat, because we probably want it to be thick enough to be able to go over the top of our lasagnas. So I've got to make sure there's enough there. There we go. I've got another packet in the fridge if I need it. There we go. Oh, there we go. It's beginning to heat up quite nicely. I'll just let it come to a mild boil, and then I'll just turn it down. I'm going to turn that down to about 80. Alright, so in just a moment I'll be able to take this off the heat. And then we'll get to the next stage, which is the actual sauce, the base, which is the mince. Alright, now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some tallow to this pan, and we're just going to cook up the mince. Now the mince is just not ordinary mince. In this particular case, this is mince infused with liver. Now what I do is I usually use 100 grams of liver and 500 grams of mince. And I found that you really can't taste the liver in the mince when you do that. And I really can't stand the taste of liver. So if you've seen that video, I'll leave a link in the description at the top. And hopefully you'll be able to see what I'm talking about, how much I really hate liver. And I'll show you how to do it in that video. Okay, so let's get this started. Wait for that to heat up. It's on fairly high. I'm going to put the entire lot of my mince in. As you can see, there's about 500 grams of it. And once that has melted in to the fry pan, I will then put this in. Now I do intend to use a bit of stock as well to add this. Now what other things you're going to be needing is you're going to be needing 3 tablespoons of paprika, a tablespoon of garlic, and a tablespoon of onion powder, and also a tablespoon of Italian herbs and spices. So I'll wait for this to heat up and melt this down, and then we will begin to cook the mince. Now another thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be adding some whey powder into this. I'm going to fill it up with water so that it can be used as a thickener for the stock that I put in there, the bone broth that I put in there. Okay, so what I've done is I've just turned the heat down so that it doesn't go too crazy with it when I start cooking this. And then I'm going to start, I'll use this to do this. And we'll just put all the mince in there. And we'll begin the cooking process. I'm sure you don't really need to watch me do this, so I will turn off the camera until it has completely finished. So while that's sizzling away, I'm just going to put some of this one should be the garlic or the onion, I'm not 100% certain, I can't remember which one I put into what. Then I put the other one in, onion and garlic. Then we're going to be adding some of this. This is what's going to give it the red colour. I'm going to put that all over the top of the meat so that it's completely covered. Then we'll add the herbs and spices as well. Now this happens to be my bone broth. It is frozen, but that's perfectly alright. Well, I'll just turn this off while I'm waiting. Then I'll get this and I'll start scooping some of this out to pop into my mince. Well, now that I've scraped a fair chunk of this off, I'm just going to put that straight into here and add this as we go along. I'm just going to see if I can add a bit more to it as we go, because I don't think that's quite enough. That should be enough. Now I'm just going to mix this through, and once this melts through, it will give me a little bit of a broth inside the bottom, and hopefully it will begin to taste very, very good once we've sorted all this out. I will add a bit more broth to it if I need to, because it does look like it is not working as well as I'd hope. Okay, so I'll just add a bit more bone broth to this. Don't get that red look about it. So as it actually looks like the tomato paste is in it, even though there's no tomato paste whatsoever in it. Okay, so I ended up adding up quite a bit more bone broth in here. I wanted to get a bit more moisture in that. I mean, could be, pretty much put in the way it is, but I think I like it just a little bit moister, and that's okay. Now I can always hopefully let it boil down a bit if I need to. So it's a good consistency. Ah, there we go. That's looking better now. I might have to take some of that bone broth out, but that's okay. I'll let it dissolve and do its thing. So let's keep cooking this until the bone broth has melted and gone all the way through and gone through this entire mixture. That's perfect amount of bone broth, I think. See how it's got that nice, there we go, you got a lot of the water there. That's perfect. That's great. It smells really good too. In just a minute I'm going to taste it, see what it's like. Now that, remember, is paprika in there. 3 tablespoons of paprika. Grab a spoon and try it out. Let's try it out in just a sec. It smells really good. I will say that it smells really good. I'm just going to give that a try. So we'll be seeing on TV, on the camera. There we go. Here we go. Just give it a try. Mmm. That's awesome. Alright. We're almost ready for the last stage. Now the last stage of the process is to make sure that you actually oil the base of your pan. I'm only going to be making a small amount because my wife doesn't do carnivore, so this is strictly for me. So I don't need too much. I might even make enough for a couple of days so that I don't have to go making fresh stuff every day. So what we're going to be doing is, bear with me, I'm going to come back with my spoon. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to grab some of this and pour this in the bottom of the pan. I have enough mince here to do 2 layers, do a few layers, not a problem at all. So I will just put that in here. There we go, nice thick layer on the base. Then we'll grab some of my egg noodles, there we are, place that on there. I have enough here to do an entire pan, that's good. Oops, a daisy, sticking to itself. I shouldn't, don't know why it's sticking, but it is. Overlap it a little bit. And of course we need to also add some cheese sauce as well, so I'm going to put that over the top of this egg. There we are. I'm going to add some of the cheese sauce to the egg. I'm just going to pour it over the top, make it easier. In fact, what I might even do is get a little bit more egg. There's a spot there that I missed. That'll do. Add a bit of cheese sauce. There we are. I made sure I made plenty, so as it went around. Now just spread that over so that it covers the entire thing. As you can see, that's looking lovely. Now I'm going to add a bit of cheese to this. I'm going to go back and get some cheese out of the fridge. I'm going to grab a bit of mozzarella. Add that to it as well. Just eyeball it so I can get a rough idea as to how much it is. I found out that if you lift your hand up high, that you actually get to spread it over properly. It spreads over a lot easier and a lot better. That will do. Let's add some more meat. So we can even pour some of it in like that if we want to. Oh, look at that. That is beautiful. A lot of people say, oh, there's too much mince. Well, I like the mince. So we'll add that in here. Have to say that mince is beautiful. Now remembering more lasagna sheets, which happen to be egg whites. It's only be a couple of layers, but that's okay. Oops, a daisy. This is sticking to itself, unfortunately. That's okay. Doesn't really matter too much. If it sticks to itself, we can just pick it up and put it straight in. Doesn't matter if it's ugly. I'm the only one who's going to be eating it, and I don't have to have it presented beautifully. I just want to have it looking like it's going to do the job. Oh, I actually made too much. That's good, I can make 2 lots now. There we go, go away fly. You are not welcome here. There we are. Cover that part up. Then we'll just get a bit of the cheese sauce and we'll add the last little bit of cheese. We'll also put a bit of parmesan over it if we wish to. I think with this particular one, I'll just use a bit of my mozzarella cheese instead. And then I will turn my oven on and setting that at 175 degrees Celsius. Then once it has cooked, I will show you what it looks like at the end, so you can see hopefully how wonderful this will look. Then I'll pull it out, then serve it up, serve myself up some. Alright, that is my lasagna. I'm going to be popping that straight in the oven right as we speak. Okay, so as you can see, this is actually made enough for 2 batches. So once the next batch comes out of the oven, I'll pop this one straight in. Have a look at burny fingers. Don't do that. I just put it out of the oven. Silly me. Okay, wash my hands in the cold water. Okay, that wasn't cool. Okay, use your brains. Told you I'm not a professional chef. Okay, that was really dumb of me to doing that. Can't believe I did something that stupid. Anyhow, let's have a look at what this is going to look like. Now, I'll just cut through here. Oh, that's so good. Cut through all this egg. It's a bit runny, so I might let it cool down a little bit and set until it's actually stopped being so runny. So I'll just give that a little bit of time, and then we'll let it. Then I'll serve it up, and I'll show you what it's like once it's cooled down. Okay, take 2. This time without burning myself. I left it in the freezer for quite a bit of time, so hopefully this will now be a little bit easier to do because it's no longer going to be quite so liquidy. So let's just get this out. We'll have a quick look at what this is going to be like. I'll put it in there for probably half an hour or so. So we'll see what this is like. But the biggest test here is whether or not it tastes good. There we go. Put that on there. As I said, I'm not a professional chef. It's not pretty, but as long as it tastes alright, that's what matters. Okay, so I've got enough here for a couple of nights. I might even share some with my son. There we are. Oops, where is it? There we are. That's what it looks like. Now, I'm going to give this a bit of a try, and we'll see what it's like. Okay, now it's time to give it a try. So I've not tried this before, so remembering, the meals I cook will probably be experiments for the first time because I'm so new at this. So we'll see what this one tastes like. Be right. Oh, that is so good. You don't even miss the tomato. Mmm. Okay, well, that's it for this particular video. I'm going to wolf this down because it's going to be my dinner. I'll tell you what, the egg, because it's like pasta, you don't taste the egg. All the meat and the stock and all the herbs and spices in it just completely masks the egg, and you can't taste the egg. It's that good. So if you got any value out of this video, please consider smashing the like button as well as subscribing. Also hit the bell icon so you'll be notified when we upload more videos. Hey, while you're at it, why not consider sharing? Also leave a comment down below and let me know what you think of this particular lasagna. Also to let you know that right here is a video I believe you might like. Down here is a video YouTube thinks you might like. And right here is an image of my head. Now if you click on that, you'll be able to subscribe. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching, and bye for now.